racing in America. A dynamic mix of technology, competition, and history. This year marks the beginning of the second century of American racing. The sport has always been immensely popular. The Vanderbilt Cup races in New York at the turn of the century drew gigantic crowds. As the new sport evolved, heroes emerged. The drivers, the human element inside the cockpits, the men who piloted the machines. 1911, a new racing facility in Indianapolis staged the ultimate test of man and technology, a 500-mile race. An automobile engineer for the Marmon Corporation, Ray Haroon, won the race in his company's car and was an instant hero to the large crowd. The Indianapolis 500 rapidly grew to become the premier event in American auto racing. The speeds increased. Enormous crowds came to see thrilling competition amongst drivers who grew to legendary status. A race driver's career, then as now, would be defined by his performance at Indianapolis.
There's an accident in the front straightaway. Where's Boyd? I don't know whether he can get through or not. He's only got a couple hundred yards to go, but where is he? There he is! A.J. Boyd will win the Indianapolis 500 in an incredible, thrilling finish.
And the 500 has been defined by the skill of the drivers.
Over the roar of the engine, you can hear the 400,000 people going hoarse. No one has ever seen this before in Indianapolis. Not quite over. John Buck still with the lead. There you see them. Did he make a move at the finish? He's making a move. No, not quite. Gordon Johnson has won the Indianapolis 500. He won it by less than a car length.
The cheers are for those who accept the danger with daring, those who strive for the ultimate victory.
Fittipaldi comes inside Little Al. A drag race on the backside again. Slower traffic moves to the right. Can Fittipaldi get past? Little Al brings it down low. They touch. Little Al into the wall. Fittipaldi continues on. Little Al slams the wall as Emerson Fittipaldi screams toward the white flag.
Unser and Fittipaldi struggled again last Sunday and fell short. Both failed to qualify for today's race, leaving this event a wide-open competition. An antique silver cup carries the name and likeness of the great Indy champions. Two men in particular have come so close to their dream, but have yet to win the great race.
They make the turn for home now. On the main stretch, Scott Goodyear closes in. Goodyear tries it, but no.
I believe that's the closest finish in Indy history.
Al Unser Jr. is a winner at the Indianapolis 500.
Scott Goodyear finished second in that race, but today he starts on the front row with his best chance to add his name to the list of champions.
The green flag is back out, and Rick Mears comes around John Andretti. He's no factor whatsoever, but Michael is right there with him. Michael moving to the outside. Can he keep in the high groove? He did it at Phoenix. Can he do it here? Michael Andretti takes the lead away from Rick Mears. Wow!
But it was Rick who won that thrilling duel in '91. Now more than ever, Michael Andretti, whose famous father Mario won the race only once, would like to carve his own name on the silver cup. Arie Luyendyk has already won here. He and teammate Scott Brayton are the two fastest qualifiers with the most powerful cars. If they prove reliable, they may be unbeatable. 100 years ago, America's first ever automobile race. The spectators followed the two racing cars on foot. Today, 33 drivers will pilot their race cars at speeds over 240 miles an hour in front of 500,000 people. A new face and name will be added to the old Silver Cup. A new champion of the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500.
From the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, ABC's Wide World of Sports is proud to present live coverage of the 79th running of this great race. Since 5 a.m., the largest crowd for a single-day sporting event in the world has been filing into this historic track. The cars very shortly will be moving into their positions on the main straightaway. There's the pole sitter, Scott Brayton's car. Also coming out will be the remainder of the front row, his teammate, Arie Luyendyk. They both have Menard power. And with Honda power on the outside of the front row will be Scott Goodyear. None of these three drivers are regulars in the series. The drivers at this moment are back in Gasoline Alley, that garage area situated inside the track. Let's begin with that front row and pole sitter Scott Brayton.
Well, Paul, for over 2 weeks, this man and his father, Lee, have enjoyed the spotlight reserved only for the Indy pole position winner. But in a little less than 1 hour, that honor will be all but forgotten as Scott Brayton pursues a lifelong dream, a trip to Indianapolis Victory Lane.
Sharing the spotlight with Scott, his teammate Arie Luyendyk with his wife Mika. They're familiar with the emotions of this countdown. Remember, Arie won this race 1990, third time to be a front row starter. He's been terrifically fast all month long. Now he wants to be fast for 500 final miles.
A year ago, Canadian Scott Goodyear struggled to qualify here at Indianapolis. Today, he starts from the outside of row 1. On Thursday, his redesigned Honda engine logged the fastest laps during the final practice. If he can duplicate that effort today, this first-year team will certainly have reason to celebrate.
Well, this is truly a 500 of first. That front row is the first ever to average over 230 miles an hour. The slowest qualifier in today's field, Eliseo Salazar, at 225, would have been in 6th position or outside the second row in last year's race. Why the speed? Why the close competition? Well, there are several reasons. The fastest cars are all using engines that have yet to prove their dependability. 2 Menards and a Honda make up the front row. The Menard has never finished a full 500 miles, and the Honda has never started this race. And for the first time since 1974, there are 2 competing tire manufacturers. That has added a new dimension to the race and is most likely the reason for the quick speeds. The combination of all means the most competitive field ever and predicts some very close racing. Add to all of that today's weather forecast, which includes thunderstorms, and that may play a part in the final outcome today. Now, one of the biggest racing stories of the month has been that Penske Racing has failed to qualify after 26 years of top 10 starts here. Team Penske came to the Speedway as the favorite, just off back-to-back series wins. Almost immediately became apparent the Penske chassis just wasn't fast enough. They failed to qualify the first weekend. Then they leased a Renard, but failed to get it up to speed. Then they borrowed a Lola from Bobby Rahal. Emerson Fittipaldi was practicing in that car, and even with Bobby Rahal's help, they couldn't get it going quite fast enough. For 3 days, the Indiana skies opened up, robbing them of test time. On the 3rd day of trials, Fittipaldi ran 3 laps at a speed that would have made the race, but the team thought that it wouldn't hold up, and Roger Penske waved it off. Now, it was Fittipaldi out to take a qualifying run on the final day, but he was bumped by Stefan Johansson. A stunned Fittipaldi would be a spectator. So would Al Unser Jr. In the last of 3 tries, he simply was not fast enough. Now that means that Al Unser Jr. is not racing today. The first time ever for a defending champion who has tried and then failed to make the field. It leaves the field with only 3 former winners and no former multiple winners. Closer to these stories now, we can get with Sam Posey. Sam, the Penske absence may have a consequence far beyond today's race.
Well, clearly missing the race, Paul, was a devastating blow. What went wrong? Roger declined to be interviewed today, but what we know is this. In one stroke, the aura of Penske invincibility has been shattered, and it's hard to believe that his relationship with his sponsors will ever be quite the same again. Although Roger will win again, and I, for one, hope it soon, the myth is dead, and IndyCar racing seems changed somehow now that Penske is just another team. Jack?
Sam, the Ilmore Mercedes is also in the field, as well as the engine of choice, the Ford Cosworth. But the reliability that Paul questioned about the Buick V6-based Menard V6 on the pole sitter's car, well, Team Menard sat this car on the pole with this engine and continued the development work that started all the way back when the car finished in 3rd place back in 1992. They feel now that they not only have the muscle, but the reliability to complete the 500 miles here at Indy. Gary?
Jack Firestone is back in IndyCar racing with 8 cars in the 33-car field, including 1 in the front row. They've had terrific success in qualifying, and because of that success, Goodyear came up with an optional tire made available in the final practice just last Thursday. They think it's softer, stickier, more grip, and faster, and they think that all of their teams, before the 500 miles is over today, will be switching to this optional tire. Jerry?
One of 3 former winners in today's field is Ohio native Bobby Rahal, who starts the car he also co-owns from the outside of row 7. Now, Rahal is a master race day strategist and should be a factor today, given his experience, in contrast to the overall youth of this wide-open field. Bobby?
Well, everything we've heard means that this will be the most competitive race ever. Just think, almost every driver getting into their car today thinks that they really have a chance to win. It's so wide open, I think even I would have a chance to win this one. But seriously, the winner could come from any row, with the pit strategies playing a very important part. This one, I guarantee, is going to be really exciting. Paul?
Well, Bobby, the clock is counting now as we take a look at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, its long straightaways and its 4 turns. We'll be taking closer looks as the day goes on. With 40 minutes to go now, let's take a look at turn 1. Some think that the best seats in the speedway are right here, the southwest turn. There the fans get the best look at the leader on the start of the race itself. In 1992, Mario and Michael Andretti charged around Eddie Cheever and began a battle for the lead as the fans in that first turn stood and cheered for the first 20 laps. So at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we're close to a start. We'll be back.
He has won more races in the history of NASCAR. Genuine Chevrolet and cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place.
A new attraction here at the Speedway, the Indy Fan Fest, just inside the second turn. Lots to do there. Now, the sun is shining on parts of the track right now. The weather today calls for scattered thunder showers, but they say we may be able to get the entire race in. The temperature may go up to 80 degrees. Now, let's introduce you to the 33 starters. This year, we've broken the field down into 3 groups based on their experience in this race. And consider this, no driver in the field today was driving 15 years ago in 1980. As we go through the field, we'll see what some of them were doing back then.
The first group is drivers in their first or second year at the Brickyard. Rookie Gil de Ferran is from Brazil. He'll drive the yellow number 8 for Jim Hall Racing. His mentor is world champion Jackie Stewart, who has helped promote his career. The only Fittipaldi in the field is Christian, Emerson's nephew. This Brazilian rookie drives for Derek Walker after 3 years in Formula One. 15 years ago, he was 9, and with the help of his driver, Father Wilson, he was already winning races. Carlos Guerrero is a 37-year-old rookie from Mexico. Much of his 26 years of racing experience comes from go-karts. He started driving open-wheel racers just 6 years ago. The fastest rookie ever at Indianapolis is Brazil's Andre Ribeiro, teammate to front-row driver Scott Goodyear. He is one of Steve Horn's 2 Tasman entries powered by a Honda. In 1980, he was 14 and making his first visit to the United States. Eliseo Salazar is the first driver ever from Chile. His racing background has him well prepared for Indy. By 1980, he already had 6 years of racing experience, racing first in Chile, then in England on his way to Formula One. The last of the 6 rookies is Alessandro Zampedri of Italy, driving for football great Walter Payton and Dale Coyne. 15 years ago, at age 11, he was racing for real, but racing in go-karts. After missing the race the past 2 years, Belgium Eric Bachelard